The sterile hospital corridors echoed with the sound of Marcus's footsteps as he made his daily journey between two worlds, one where his newborn son fought for life in the NICU, and another where his mother threatened to destroy everything he held dear. At 26, Marcus thought becoming a father would be the hardest challenge he'd face. He was wrong. 8 days ago, Marcus and his partner Emma, also 26, welcomed their first child together through an emergency C-section that left their beautiful baby boy fighting complications in the hospital's intensive care unit. The tiny infant, immunocompromised and fragile, required round-the-clock medical attention while Emma recovered from surgery and maintained the exhausting schedule of pumping and feeding that kept their son alive. While Emma stayed at the hospital providing the critical care their newborn needed, Marcus juggled the impossible task of caring for her two other children, a 4-year-old boy and 5-year-old girl, while fielding increasingly aggressive demands from his 49-year-old mother, Linda, who had become consumed with possessing access to her first biological grandson. Linda had been granted one brief, supervised visit under strict medical protocols: no touching, no holding, just looking at the vulnerable infant through protective barriers. But for Linda, this glimpse only fueled an obsession that grew more dangerous by the day. Her demands for unlimited access to the baby became relentless. Despite Marcus's gentle explanations about medical necessity and hospital restrictions, each conversation with his mother followed the same devastating pattern. Marcus would patiently explain why she couldn't visit the NICU freely, why their immunocompromised son needed protection, why the doctor's guidelines weren't negotiable. Linda would respond with manipulative tears, guilt-tripping phone calls that ended with her sobbing "enjoy fatherhood" before hanging up dramatically, leaving Marcus drowning in manufactured guilt while his actual responsibilities overwhelmed him. The manipulation escalated when Linda appeared unannounced at Marcus and Emma's home, demanding the return of a car she'd previously given him when his vehicle died. With the two young children inside, listening to every word, Linda created a scene in the driveway that would traumatize them for years. When Marcus again refused to compromise his newborn's safety for her emotional needs, Linda delivered her ultimate threat: she would take him to court for grandparents' rights to force visitation with his medically fragile infant. The woman who claimed to love his son was willing to drag a struggling family through legal hell, spend money on lawyers instead of supporting her son during a crisis, and risk exposing an immunocompromised newborn to unnecessary visitors, all to satisfy her own selfish desires. Marcus's breaking point came when he reached out to his biological father, who had been separated from Linda since Marcus was 8 years old. The conversation revealed a horrifying pattern. Linda had used identical manipulation tactics during Marcus's childhood, playing victim while systematically destroying relationships and boundaries. Even now, she was spinning narratives to Marcus's father, claiming her son and daughter-in-law were blocking her from her grandchild, painting herself as the wounded grandmother rather than the aggressor threatening legal action. Linda's manipulation reached new heights when she offered to buy Marcus a house and return the car, but only if he begged for her forgiveness and agreed never to transport Emma or the children in the vehicle. The conditional love was explicit: comply with her demands or lose everything she'd ever given him. Her text messages became increasingly unhinged: "You will never lose me as a mother until the day I die, and well, that could be whenever. Your son is your life, enjoy him, love mom." The veiled threat was unmistakable emotional manipulation disguised as maternal devotion, but Marcus had learned to document everything. Recordings of phone calls, screenshots of messages, evidence of Linda's extensive police history across 3 different towns that he'd never known about. His lawyer was building a case, preparing for the courtroom battle Linda had initiated, when Linda appeared at their home again while Emma and the baby remained hospitalized, begging Marcus to take back the car while demanding access to his newborn. Marcus had reached his limit. He calmly told her to sell the car and leave his property before he called police. The woman who claimed to love his family was now trespassed from their home. This wasn't about grandparents' rights or family bonds. This was about a woman so consumed with control that she'd rather destroy her son's family than respect boundaries designed to protect a medically vulnerable infant. Marcus stood in his driveway, watching his mother drive away, knowing he'd chosen his children's safety over a toxic relationship that had poisoned his life for 26 years. Have you ever had to choose between protecting your children and maintaining relationships with toxic family members? How do you handle relatives who use guilt and manipulation to violate boundaries meant to protect vulnerable loved ones?